Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick with you this morning. We got a lot going on. We got some earnings. We got not so much ratings as ratings, singular. One big rating from yesterday. It's the Goldman Sachs upgrade of Tesla. We'll talk about that. We got some mergers. We got a lot going on today. We're going to talk pot with our guest, Alan Brochstein from New Cannabis Ventures and the 420 Investor. He will join the show at 8:35, give us his thoughts on that hot sector. We got the SPACs running again today. It's just a lot going on here. So I want to remind you all before I throw it to Joel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Joel, how are we doing this morning?
We're doing pretty good. We're up 3/4 of a handle, 36.68. Your pre-market high just above yesterday's high at 74.5. That was the high. High of the move, 77.50. Wednesday's high, 72.75. So a little overhead resistance here going ahead into the jobs number tomorrow. Don't forget about that. We got the jobs data. We have crude. That's in the red by 29 cents at 44.99. That $46 level still looming large. Gold, this could be 3 days in a row being up. 1844.40 up. It's up 14.20. Trying to get back to that old support, new resistance brick wall there at 1860, folks. I can tell you that right now. Silver rebounding as well. That's up 28.5 cents at 24.345. And Bitcoin, now we're just hanging. Now we're finding support in the 19,000 handle. Would you ever believe that? No. We've had one low in the 19,000 handle. We got working on another one today.
I think it's gearing up to go again.
Yeah.
I'm long it via the QBTC. I think it's going again. I just don't. It's all about story. The story. And this is going to be a story of 2021, I think. That's why I finally got long Bitcoin at the 17,000 marker. I know I paid up somewhat, but I just think the story is not going away, and the story could actually get very hot.
You nailed it, man. That one day, that was.
I gave you one day, man.
You had your Thanksgiving.
It's a Thanksgiving holiday, and I got to go buy Bitcoin because I'm like, I may not get another chance. I got to do it, man.
I mentioned it before. Like, I came in down to look at the markets because, the SPOOs trade, and I see Bitcoin down like 2,000, and I'm getting ready to text Dennis 5 minutes later. I'm long Bitcoin. Like, buy the dip.
Yeah, you were going to tell me, hey, you're getting your dip to buy. I was like, yeah, I just bought it. I couldn't stop myself. I'm like, yeah. Everybody's talking about Bitcoin falling 10%. I'm buying. Yep, me.
You should send an email to Mark Yusko is what you should do. And
tell him. If I double my money, I'll send an email to Mark Yusko. So I'll sell half when I double it, and then I play with the house's money forever. That's how you do it.
And now we got now CNBC. They have it on their on their little quote board in the corner there.
That's where if they start talking about it, and I mean, it's CNBC is just driving stocks. It's like because you have so many, obviously in the media, you have so many people who are just following CNBC, newer traders, trying to get their trading ideas. But I mean, some of these moves. That move last night on Kramer from that one SPAC, what is it, like GMHI or what the heck is it, Spencer? It actually was GMHI, but I believe the merger, I believe it changed today, didn't it?
What is
it? That's the one.
It's got a new symbol today.
How can you keep track of all these symbols?
Oh, there's so much. So GMHI, the SPAC became, I believe it's Luminar. Luminar?
Yeah.
That's correct.
What's the new symbol for Luminar?
LUMR?
I had it here.
I'm just guessing. I'm guessing that too, Joe. I'm trying to guess it.
No.
It's not LMNR.
No.
Anybody know it? Chat, help us out. What's the new symbol for Luminar?
No, that's not it.
LAZR.
Thank you.
Chat is all over it. Our chat rocks. You guys are awesome. LAZR. So anyway, it obviously the merger closed here. The stock is just ripping up to new highs. I want to just start the show, not with the Tesla upgrade, but I want to start the show. I'm calling it the SPAC washout low Wednesday. All of these SPACs, everybody panicked, hit the panic button yesterday, and there was so many SPACs that just had ridiculously low prices right about when this LAZR, if you go look at this chart, just around half an hour after the open, they were puking, and they kept puking, and people were like, I got to get out. And that was the bottom. And LZR might be the poster child for what we're talking about. It hit $14 on the Kisser yesterday. 1 day later, it is 23 and making new highs. 1 day later. So somebody sold at 14. It is $23 here this morning. You can thank Jim Cramer for a lot of this move because he featured this one last night. He's been doing a segment for the last 3 days. It's 3 SPACs in 3 days. He started this one teasing it, saying, I actually like this one. So you knew he was going to be bullish. And when he mentioned GMHI, which was the symbol yesterday, the stock was 1850. And the next 10 seconds, it went to 20. And in the next 10 minutes, it went to 21.5. And he actually said, buy some of this tomorrow. And this is what Jim Cramer said. I'm not saying this. But he said, buy some of this tomorrow, buy a piece. And then if it pulls back, buy more. So he's very rarely that bullish on something. So, but this one, he flat out said to buy it. And when he flat out says to buy it, everyone listens. It's up 28%. And I bet you 20% of that move, people are going to say it's the merger. But if you look at the time and sales from last night, you can clearly see that it was mad money where the bulk of that move happened last night. What time was it, Chief?
What time was it?
It hit. I tweeted it out actually because somebody was arguing with me that it was because of the merger that it was
People
up.
should know not to argue with you.
And the merger helps. It would have probably been up because of the merger. But if you actually look at the time, that it was, we'll go to the time and sales of when he actually.
I'm going to guess 1830.
1826.45, the exact seconds when Jim Cramer mentions the stock, GMHI. In the next 10 seconds, from 1826 to 1820, it goes from 1875 to 20. And then in the next 10 minutes, it goes up to 2175 as he's obviously continuing to tell the story and pitch the stock. So it went from 1875 to 2175, up 3 points in the 10-minute segment, the exact 10-minute segment that Jim Cramer was featuring the stock. So it obviously was a big Cramer pump. There's still another couple bucks in there. The other couple bucks is probably because the merger closed. So it was probably going to be up regardless, but Cramer really pumped this one last night.
Okay. All right.
It's not the only SPAC that's running here this morning.
They all turned yesterday. So go ahead.
You've got LCA running. Looks like they're going to close their deal with Gold Nugget Online. They announced a date, December 18th is the date to approve the merger. So Dennis, you've been holding this one. I've been wondering, it's been like, I don't know how long it's been, 6 months since they announced the merger and they haven't actually closed it yet. And we had no idea when it was going to happen. So the fact that they put a definitive date on it means it's going to close. And so LCA is ripping on that headline this morning. I want to put this tracker in the chat that I found the other day, SPACtrack.net. Because it is impossible to keep track of all these SPACs.
There's so many. You sent me the list, like you were sending me a list of them. I was like, what's EV SPACs? And you sent me a list of like a bazillion of them. There's so many. That's an awesome list. So can we show that? Actually show it on the thing. So you put the link in, show what you're showing. Because this is Backtrack. Can we show it?
Yeah, sure. Let me
show the link. So it's SPACtrack.net. And it's showing you the active SPACs with all of the information. Great tool to use. You can see the ones that got deals. You can see the ones that, have, or don't have any deal and they're still searching. It tells you what they are. There's so many SPACs out there, man. There are so many of these things. So you can just look, but great tool here, the SPAC track tool. And you can see it. He's just scrolling through.
You can just
give us a couple examples in there. Obviously you see some big names in there, but if you scroll down,
you can filter it right by industry. You can filter by whether they've had a definitive, whether they've merged or whether they haven't merged yet. But it's literally just alphabetical order, and it's got all the information.
So it's SPA. So those who are listening and are on Spotify and can't see what you're showing at, it's SPACtrack.net. And then you can go to active SPACs and you can see everything that's happening. Great information here, giving you all the information on the current SPACs and what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm long. We know I've got a bunch of the SPACs. I actually bought some more SPACs in the last day on SPAC washout day. I did do some buy the dipping. Yes, people are saying I tweet out that I bought Palantir yesterday. Yes, I am indeed long now Palantir. I bought the dip yesterday because I saw a lot of rebounds and a lot of these little Momo names. And I was like, okay, well, this one was being held down by the downgrade, but this one could get hot again too. I personally think the 21.15 low is going to hold. That's why I bought it yesterday at 22.40. I think I paid 22.43. So I bought it right near the close because I was like, I think it can rebound, and then it did. So it is rebounding here this morning. But I mean, it's just, the turn, Jemiah turn was just incredible yesterday. The stock was getting just thrown out for dead in the first 10 minutes of the day, and it went all the way down to 24.53. The stock turned about 10 a.m. and ran to 30 in the next hour. So from 24 to 30, and then it continued up for pretty much the rest of the afternoon, closing at 32.70.
Which one?
You're talking about like a 9-point reversal.
Which one? Oh,
Jemiah.
Jemiah. Yeah.
And it's not a SPAC, but it's just I'm throwing it in there because it's the small Momo tech names that are all moving together right now. But you look at most of the SPACs, the same thing. You had a lot of washout lows yesterday. What do we mean by washout low? It's when the people who are long it panic and say, oh my goodness, I'm losing all my money. I got to get out, just sell. That happened around 9:45. It's called capitulation. And you saw, obviously, Jemiah go from $41 a couple days ago and wash out down to 24. The Luminar one that we just talked about, what is the symbol? I've already lost it again. LAZR?
LAZR.
LAZR. Same thing. 2 days ago, it was 1971. It washed out to 14. Now at $23. So if you were buying these SPACs around 10 a.m. yesterday morning, you are doing very well here this morning. And yes, I was doing buy the dip. Yes, indeed, I did buy CRM as well. So the chat's like, what about CRM? What about CRM? Did you buy the dip in CRM? I took a half size position in CRM because you were completely trying to catch a falling knife.
Yep.
There's nothing to lean on. So I went a half size, and I said to myself, if it goes lower, I'm going to buy the other half. But I do believe that CRM will eventually rebound. So yes, I bought 2 stocks yesterday, along with a couple other little SPACs as well. But 2 main purchases yesterday: Palantir and CRM. Half size position actually in both of them. Palantir, I only took a half size position.
Did you use the level that I told you to use in
CRM?
Yeah.
I mean, Joel, you are a trading genius. He says, when we were talking about the level at yesterday's show, Joel's talking about the level at 228. I'm talking about 228 and saying what could bottom at those 2 lows. And you talked about the filling of the gap. And it filled the gap a little bit more than filling the gap by a couple bucks. But I mean, if you were looking at that saying, okay, the gap fill is here and it just did it. What we mean by the gap fill is Joe was looking back to August when the stock gapped up from 218.35 up to 249.47. I believe, was that the Dow Jones when it became part of the Dow Jones?
Or was it Dow Jones earnings on the same day or something?
There was a Dow Jones move in there. I feel like that was Dow Jones gap. I think the August, if you go to the Pro, I think that was the Dow Jones gap.
The best part about the Pro is we can go and find out. So
it would have been the night of the 25th that it would have been announced. They're always announced at usually
after
evening.
the close.
So I think
that was earnings is what that was.
Oh, it was earnings.
That
wasn't the Dow Jones gap. When was the Dow Jones gap? Remember that day?
Dow Jones was shortly before that.
Just shortly before that.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so fill that gap, the huge gap in the chart. And Joel, you called it, man. Congratulations on the call. Beautiful call. I didn't buy it at 218. I wish I would have had my order out there. I actually paid I paid right around the close. Again, I was at right before the close. And I was like, you know what? I want to buy a couple stocks. I bought some Palantir and I bought some Salesforce. I think I paid right around the 220.78 close. So
Ray Gonzalez, half size, Dennis. Ray Gonzalez wants to. I mean, it's pretty.
Because I'm trying to catch a falling knife and I'm scared, and I'm like, I'm just going to take. And then whenever I take a half size, I'm usually wrong. So don't follow me. It means I'm not totally convicted. It means I want a piece, but I don't know about my timing. So it's basically when I put a half size position in my long term portfolio, it's like I like the stock and I think it's cheap enough, but I don't know about my timing. So when I'm like, usually I go in 80% of the time I go all in. I don't do this half size crap. But in this case, I was like, it's falling, catching a falling knife. I was like, I want to participate, but I'm not sure this is the bottom. So anyways, that's what I did. So I bought Sierra and Palantir half-size positions.
All right.
Planning on holding them for a while.
S&P's is hanging around unchanged, right? Here at 67 and a quarter. That is your all-time closing high in the S&P. Have been as high as 74.50. So are we gonna talk this long and not mention Tesla?
That's an unbelievable upgrade. So it seems like every time Tesla wants to go down, it gets somebody that comes out and defends it. I did say yesterday I thought it would bounce around the 550. So I was early because it didn't bounce 550, it bounced at 541. So about 9 points down. Man, I tell you, buy the dip works here again. It worked. One, they bailed it out. The S&P bailed it out 2 days ago. And now it's Goldman Sachs bailing out the stock because obviously, it got hit pretty good with the Momos all getting hit. But GS coming to the rescue here this morning. Give us the details, Mr. Israel.
Interestingly enough, it does seem like whenever somebody comes out on the bearish side, so that is followed by somebody else coming out on the bullish side. So yesterday, Michael Burry from the Big Short fame, who foresaw the housing crisis, confirmed that he was short Tesla. That was like midday yesterday. That was like yesterday late morning. And then, or maybe even the day before. And then yesterday after hours, Goldman Sachs comes out and upgrades Tesla to buy. They had downgraded the stock to neutral back in June, so they're going back to buy now, giving it a price target of $780.
I will say these analysts do the same thing that we do. They have their reports, and as soon as they're excited to write it, I think they time it when they're going to release it, because you look at there's a nice dip yesterday. So they're like, okay, now we got the dip. So they don't want to be buying at the highs either and then looking bad. They're waiting for a dip to buy. So just as much as, me and you like to buy the dip, the analysts like to release their buy reports on the dips. And that's why, buy the dip works for us too, because even the analysts that will move the price coming out and trading the same way, looking for a dip. They're like, oh, we want to get bullish GS. We need a pullback. They got the pullback yesterday and they struck. So, and you know what? Think about how many times today this Tesla upgrade by GS is going to get mentioned on CNBC, and how much, you have all, the retail crowd that just follows CNBC and loves it. I think it hit 600 today. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits a new all-time high. I would not be fading this upgrade on this.
Can I ask you something though? Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Would you have faded the Neo upgrade from Goldman Sachs the other day?
Did they upgrade Neo?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different story. I mean, the Tesla still has the S&P story here, and now, and Neo, how much, you get an upgrade, it was to neutral, I believe. It wasn't going to get the major media coverage. Okay. Like Tesla is such a storied stock. And now you have, arguably the most influential, brokerage upgrading the stock to a buy, and not only upgrading to a buy, but giving a huge price target. Spencer, what's the price target?
$780.
$780. Is that street high?
No, there's people.
No,
there's people.
Well, there's ARK, but I mean, like of the big guns, who's got a 780 on this?
Well,
thing?
It depends. Are we counting people's bull case and bear case and base?
Oh yeah, we got the bull case from Morgan Stanley, the bear case where they're hedged and they're right no matter what.
Right.
So
no, street high is over 1,000. That's from actually no, it's not over 1,000. That was pre-split. I don't know. No, I'm seeing, what, it might be a street high. Post-split, it might be a street high.
That's what I'm wondering. Post-split, if that's a street high, that's a long ways. That's a 200-point gain. So Tesla has had this run of a lifetime this year in 2020. We're talking from $100 to $600, and GS thinks it's going another $200. This is going to get some media coverage today. So I think that it pushes it probably higher than 600. I believe, I'll go on the record saying, I believe Tesla can challenge the 607.80 today.
Dennis, that's like 13 points. Don't go out on a limb here.
Well, that's a long ways up. Still $13.
13.
I'll take 13 points.
For Tesla, you try to buy 1,000 shares and it goes
You're pushing 13 points. Well, it's up 25, so maybe it's not out on a limb. What do you think it's doing? Would you be fading?
I'm not gonna.
You're long that bloody thing, so you're not fading. He owns the stock.
Use bloody a lot. Is that do you have some British
That's the
in you?
non-swear word.
Oh, okay.
And and isn't that
bloody?
Is that a London thing?
Bloody. I feel like I'm talking to
When I'm
Boris.
not on the air, I don't.
I'm
use
doing
bloody.
the show with Boris Johnson here.
Hey, wait! I'm doing Kenny Glick's show in a week. I won't be using bloody.
Oh yeah, I saw those tweets going by. I may participate. I may not too.
You're gonna go on there too?
Yeah,
Get
he
the
asked
bid?
me to come on a couple of weeks ago, but I'm like, do I feel like sitting
He drinks
if-
beers and talks charts.
Yeah,
Awesome. I'm like, I'll do that.
Yeah,
That
but I
sounds
mean,
awesome.
kind of sit in front of the computer a lot. You know what I mean? So whatever, I might hop in for. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other things going on if I know Kenny. But let's just.
All right.
All right,
Change the
strike that.
subject.
Can you strike that from the record?
It's not like
Tangent.
1,631 people just heard
start
it live.
talking about Kenny Glick, and we go off the rails here.
All right, go. Back to Tesla. What are you doing first with your Tesla? I know you're holding because Lisa won't let you sell. But if you had control of your own account, which Lisa,
I got a good story for you.
Okay, give us. Okay, let's do the tangent. What's the Tesla story?
All right, no, it's not Tesla.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the story?
When Lisa was on the Peloton today, right?
Yeah.
And I was doing my roller wheel, right? Yeah. Doing a couple sets. I said, honey, I said, I think we should talk about this Peloton a little bit. I said, it's had a great run. And, it might not be, like a bad idea to, maybe take out our cost basis or whatever. And she's like, why?
Because we're up 500% in it.
Yes, she said why, and I said
you didn't do the business proposal, did you?
I
told you have to do the business plan.
Okay, she goes, I want to buy more. Okay, and I'm like, no, we're not buying more. And then she goes, Dana is buying one, and my sister's buying one. She goes, everyone's buying a Peloton. And then I get my business plan. I said, but Lisa, look what happened to Zoom. Zoom went from 568 or 588, its all-time high, and it really getting hit off earnings. And she goes, well, where'd it go to? And I said, well, it got back to around $400. She goes, well, we got some cash. Let's buy Zoom.
She makes you buy Zoom. Are you long Zoom now?
Oh, no. I just was like, I was like,
you went in there trying to sell Peloton, and she made you buy Zoom.
He ended up buying Zoom.
He ended up buying Zoom.
How's that for I was like, okay. I go, we'll just let it.
This is the way it is. Joel isn't allowed to sell.
I don't know. It was her call. And you know what also she told me that she bought and she didn't tell me? Kohl's.
Do you buy stuff without telling you now?
Yeah.
What'd you buy?
Kohl's.
Oh, she's like a genius. When did she buy Kohl's?
She's savvy.
When did she buy that?
Like a couple of weeks ago.
She's like the best trader ever. Get her on the show. We're replacing Joel with Lisa. Doctor, she makes them 2 weeks ago. That's right when it broke out. She's a genius.
I think she's maybe at night. I think she's like coming downstairs and turning on my computer.
She's like this closet trading goddess. Yeah. She's like a trading goddess.
No, she said something about shows or something, or sales or something. But they always have sales. It's like, she gets a lot of stuff from there.
Holy,
I don't know.
She just is awesome at this trading business.
And I'm not going to mention
hang up the medical license, become a full-time trader.
And I'm not going to mention a buddy of mine who we do place a little money with, and he told her not to buy it. And she's
like, I'm buying twice as much.
Hey, when you're hot, you're hot. She's feeling.
She's so hot, man.
I know.
Jason Rosnick, Lisa Elconin,
and Dave Portnoy.
Portnoy.
Anyways, I had to tell that story because I was just shaking my head after that. I'm like,
I tried to sell Peloton, and I have to buy Zoom now.
Yes.
Happy wife, happy life, Joel. Listen to your wife, and you can't go wrong.
Yep.
Because if you sell that Peloton and it goes to 200, you will never hear the end of that one.
Yep.
So you have no choice. You have to hold. And you know what? Let's be honest with the Peloton. Let's talk the technicals because it's held up fairly well. Are they due to report anytime soon, Spencer? Peloton, it was recently, wasn't it?
They already reported.
They already reported. Okay.
Yeah.
I forget. I have like goldfish memory. It's only 6 seconds, so I don't remember. I'm assuming the gap down in the chart was probably earnings day.
Yeah, I mean,
it's actually holding up pretty good.
The
technicals don't look bad here. Maybe it gets the end of the year run. Lisa might be right here again. I don't want to fade Lisa. So you know what? If you wanted to, you could double bottom from the last 2 days, Joel. You could lean on that and you could try along here. 110. I would stop myself up below the 110. But if you wanted a sneaky little low risk Peloton trade, not that any trade in Peloton's low risk, but if you wanted it, the 110.20, the low from 2 days ago, or from yesterday, 110.30. So I'd say stop yourself out under 110. If you bought it here this morning at like 113.5 is the offer, but you could probably get it 113, work it a bit. I mean, you're risking $3 and you're saying, maybe we
fill the
get
gap.
This run again. Yeah.
Fill the gap.
Yeah, I kind of like the setup just as a trade, not as an investment because I don't like Peloton long term. But short term, kind of sets up okay.
Yeah,
it.
And also from her perspective too, I know the market, the world, we're done with COVID. She sees a little different angle on things, like the hospitalization rates and everything, and she, she's totally convinced, we're going to come out of this. We're going to come out of this at some time and come out of this flying colors, but we're going to have a bad stretch, and I mean, it's pretty much inevitable in her point, January, February, March. So
it's not over.
Batten down the hatches for that. So she, not that she's, going out for every stay at home stock, but that's just a little bit of perspective. But if it gets back up to 120 and fills that gap, then I might have another little chat with her about it.
Good luck with that. Okay, so we went from Tesla to Peloton to Kohl's. Rein us in here, Mr. Israel. Right. There's a lot of other stocks talking about. We actually had a lot of cloud earnings last night. If you want to go to
a ton of cloud earnings.
That's where I wanted to go.
We're heading to the clouds.
You had CrowdStrike, you had Splunk, you had ZScaler, you had Snowflake. Going in opposite directions here because Splunk is your big loser of the morning, but CrowdStrike and Zscaler are up. So,
oh man, it's so interesting. You get one cloud stock reports, and it tanks, and the other cloud stock reports, and it rallies. It was a mixed bag there last night. I'll tell you that much. So, like you said, Zscaler up $16. CrowdStrike trading up $18. Snowflake, they didn't like that one for whatever reason, but it was down a lot more. It has bounced. Actually, most of them are up now. OKTA, I guess, buy the dip works again. Then you got the Splunkster, and the Splunkster bringing up the rear, something fierce. Splunk, let's go to this one. It's down $44 here this morning. 44 points. Is this the AYX of the cloud now? I guess AYX isn't cloud, but it's like those momos. But right, yeah, AYX is cloud, isn't it? Alteryx?
Yes.
It's kind of tied in there. Anyways, it's been the dog of all these, little tech names for a long time. Is Splunk now the new AYX?
So anyway, they missed estimates badly. The earnings per share, they lost 7%. They lost 7 cents versus a 9-cent gain estimate. Their revenue came in at $558 million versus $612 million estimate. So they missed badly on both their EPS and the sales for the quarter. They gave some Q4 sales guidance that was also below expectations. So just a miss across the board.
So I don't know what to say. I know in some of these, when its stock gets hit this hard, it usually doesn't pay to be the first person in. And the best example I can give is AYX. Go back to August. AYX, when it went from 170 down to 130, and I got burned because it got down to like 125, and I was like, okay, that's good enough. And then it continued down for the next 3 days, and I was like, wow, I traded that really poorly. So buying the dip works unless the dip is just massive like this. Then you kind of got it. You've hurt so many people so bad that a lot of times you got to let the dust settle a little bit. So maybe you eventually have a play here, but I think coming in on day one, I'm not doing it. The dip is just simply too big, and you've got some people really burned. You've taken out every technical support level. Everybody who has bought this stock basically since May is instantly down money. So that's a problem. So, and it's a stock that really when you put it in perspective, some of these cloud names are up a lot more than this one. So, and here's one that's back to its May levels, which is, insanity to think about. So I think there's an opportunity eventually, but I don't want to be on day one. I'm going to wait until the stock stops going down, because even in the CRM case, I mean, if you were buying the early dip at 132, they went to 116. So, or 216, 232 to 216. So obviously a lot less than percentage wise, but I think some people are really burned in this.
What do you see in bid offer there, Dennis? Because
it's fairly liquid, man.
Yeah,
20 cents wide, lots on the offer. 161.06 pile offers actually. So somebody's got an algo or something. Whole bunch, like 9, 14, 7, all on different exchanges. So somebody's working a piece out at 161.06. So that's not good news.
Well, and I look at it like someone's really wants to own this at 160.80, 160.82.
So it's kind of stuck right now.
Yeah. So there is someone, I don't know, maybe just a huge short. Hey, this is the windfall of the century. I'm taking, covering, I'm long the 200 puts or something. But yeah, it's bringing in stock there. So I'll use 161 as a swing level. Get above that. I mean, this could be one of these days where, and you do see these in stocks like this. I'm not saying it's going to be this. You see it trade 160.80 TL. You see it trade down here. Thing opens up at 165, and it never looks back. I don't know if this is going to be one of those occasions, but I keep 161's my swing level. If we manage to rally back up and come down to it on the monthlies, I got nothing for you, folks. The next monthly low comes in. Oh, why? We're even below the 170. Oh, no, the next month low, 130, 134. So really can't give you much on that one besides that price action here at 161 is really interesting. And there's someone nibbling here. They're holding it.
I think they're nibbling early.
Okay.
I think they're early. I think it could continue to leak here. So I'm not, and it's not like it was chopping around. It's just slowly continued to dip. You look at these after hours charts and they can really be a tell. People don't look at this stuff, but you have the boom, the boom, the boom. Look at the first 4 candles there in the top left hand corner of the chart Joel's showing. So it just teaches you, why, we use pre-market
step down seller.
Yeah, you got people just getting out. And then, now you've kind of found where it wanted to be at like 167, 160, and then started to leak. And leak and leak and leak. And typically you just don't see these things rip right back just because, you've had 6-7 hours of trading now where it's been heavily under 170. It's a lot of volume, already 483,000 shares of traded here this morning. So you have prices memory, and as more volume comes into those prices, as more people who have bought it at these prices thinking there's a dip, and everybody who's been trying to buy the dip all morning continues to get crushed. That's why I think Splunk can actually go lower, and that's exactly what it's trying to do now as we talk.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And also, you get, people like Dennis who like, I'm going to take this home at 8 o'clock. It really didn't get killed too bad. 167.50 was the last 8 o'clock print. It opens up, man. It does, people wake up, didn't even see that closing print, that 8 p.m. print. So even if you were so inclined to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and whack this thing, you're still looking at $7 in profits here.
I don't think this bounces right back.
No.
They want snow. They want snow.
Okay, too much on Splunk. I was going to go to the weekly charts, but you guys can figure it out on your own.
Snow. Spencer.
Snow was their first report as a public company. So again, not much to compare it to, but the EPS came in below estimates and their sales beat. So mixed quarter. As far as estimates, they gave some Q4 product sales guidance as well. That was okay.
Not surprised at this price action at all. I mean, look at the way the street was leaning into this report, Dennis. I mean, they did not want to be long going into this report.
No, they hit it.
They hit it from 340 down to 280. So I was very confident that any pop in this was going to get sold. I mean, and it spiked down. You never really got a pop. The highest you've been's over 290. This 280 looks interesting because you had a low there. So I'd keep an eye on 280 for now. Next stopping point on the downside. Actually, that what I thought was 280 is actually 277.30. So that's your next daily low to keep an eye on.
Let's just finish this up before we bring Alan on. We'll do CrowdStrike here. We mentioned them all in one fell swoop. And CrowdStrike is up this morning. The earnings were good. They beat on the EPS, beat on the sales, and they gave good guidance as well. Good guidance for the quarter and good guidance for the year. very good guidance.
I mean, this stock's making new highs. So when stocks make new highs, I don't want to be short them. I don't know. I never chase them up $16, but
this CrowdStrike.
Yeah.
This one's be very interesting to me because it did sell off right ahead of the report, like CrowdStrike.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, or like the other one.
Yeah.
And now you're getting all those losses back in same. You're above an all-time high, right? By $5, right? Or $4. So it's being held up right here. I'd say if this doesn't get out and make a new pre-market high stands at 163 even, might get a little bit of a fade into this because, people that didn't sell here are thinking, wow, they're right back at all-time high. And then you had 4 monthly highs in this area too. So if you're buying this total breakout, you're buying at 160. I mean, I just
hold those levels.
Yeah, I would not want to see this thing pull back. I mean, look at the monthly chart here. That's been around that long, huh? Like, look at all those highs.
Important that it holds those levels that Joel's talking about.
Yep.
Alan time. Let's talk some pot.
Alan will be on in a moment, so he's not here just yet. Wait, did we cover ZScaler as well? I don't remember.
No, we didn't. It's up $16.
Same story. Earnings beat, EPS beat, sales beat. Good guidance.
One problem is it's not above its highs, so that you have a serious level to contend with on Zscaler, which is a September 2nd high of 163.80. So that is the important level. I don't know what it did after hours. Joel, bring up that chart for you right now. It has been through there, but now that it's not above there, I mean, that's the serious level to contend with. And there's some size seller at 164 that's saying it holds. So you got a serious level to contend with. If it can get up there and start going 165, 166, maybe it can continue. But again, buying the rips, it's not the name of the game. It's buy the dip, sell the rip. So I'm not buying the rip.
Joel, any thoughts? No? Okay.
You had the all-time high here. And same thing, same level Dennis gave. Right here, you had the all-time high, 163.80. You're trading just above that. So 164. Get above you're buying this. You want to see it get above the pre-market high and just keep on going.
Do you know what stock made a new all-time high yesterday?
What?
Disney.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Spotify.
Can you believe that the California park is closed? The Orlando park is like 10% capacity or something stupid like that. Like, they had to cut the dividend to 0 because they're trying to save money. They furloughed a bunch of employees, and the stock's making new all-time highs because it has Disney Plus. Story is just a story. They said, they were even saying, analyst was on CNBC the other day saying this stock wins in the pandemic and it wins without the pandemic because it's Disney Plus for the story to carry it if we go into lockdown, and it has the parks to carry it if we go into reopening. And I mean, that's the way the market is looking at this. It doesn't make any fundamental sense, but it kind of makes sense from the story perspective. So I kind of get it just from that perspective. And stories carrying stocks. And I mean, they're looking at this as everything stock. Reopens, great, we got the parks. Goes lockdown, great, we got Disney Plus. I mean, this is like the glass half full stock of the year right here.
All right, I'm bringing on Alan Brochstein right now. He, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is the author of the 420 Investor. He's the founding partner of New Cannabis Ventures. Joins us periodically to give us his view on the pot sector, pot stocks, because they're hot right now. Alan, good morning.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can see you.
Awesome. This is a first. How are you guys doing?
No technical difficulties.
There's always hiccup, but not today. Alan, what's going on? The sector has got some juice behind it again.
I have to tell you, almost 8 years into this is the most excited I've ever been.
Nice.
I can finally wear my CFA hat proudly and say that Moses has led his tribe to the promised land.
Well, why? Why are you so excited? I mean, it's been a hell of a run for these pot stocks in the last month, but why is this time different?
And those are dangerous words. And I used those words a couple of years ago. And I tried to explain to people when I showed up in 2014, it was the Wild West in the publicly traded. This was just a theme. And the publicly traded companies were total crap on the OTC, no money, no real business, yada, yada, yada. And beginning in 2018, we started to see a big change where like the real cannabis companies in the United States were making their way to the publicly traded markets. But it was a tough few years, obviously, and just to fast forward it, there was a lot of excitement in 2018 when California legalized, but like many of these implementations, it didn't go very well. And so we went through the vaping crisis at the end of 2019 and the pandemic this year. But, the last few times I've been on this show, I've talked about how it took me, about 8 weeks to figure it out. But we put in a good low in March and began what I think is the third wave. And I would characterize this year, my index, the New Cannabis Ventures Global Cannabis Stock Index, is now up year to date. It was down, made an all-time low in March. It's like 170% or something off those lows. And, it felt like a dead cat bounce, honestly, at first. And we were all trying to understand, what does all this mean for the cannabis industry? And so what's happened has been just nothing but positives. The demand side has been exceptional. The pandemic itself has led to people having extra time and money on their hands and a lot of anxiety. That's a good combo for cannabis. But we've also seen some structural improvements at the state level in terms of allowing delivery and curbside pickup, which now has enabled an almost Amazon.com-like experience for people who want to buy cannabis. They can go online, look at a menu, click, and it shows up at their house. Of course, an adult has to be there, but everybody's at home, so it works. On top of that, we just went through these elections, and cannabis won the election. They're still trying to figure out who's going to control the Senate, obviously, but clearly these ballot initiatives, especially in the key states of New Jersey and Arizona, where there are a lot of publicly traded companies already operating, it's just huge. So I'm excited. I want to just, before we go on, I've been telling my subscribers about, really, there's 4 legs to my bullishness right now, to this throne of campfire investing. One is the fundamentals, very solid. 2 would be the technicals. And I know, Dennis, you're really into these charts. Just some exceptional charts, a few examples of things that are a little ahead of themselves, but a lot of rotational opportunities. So good technicals. The valuation, cannabis valuations have always been problematic. It's not Warren Buffett territory right now, but there's some, I don't think people would object to the valuations. There's a lot of, you can do the math on EBITDA, revenue, things like that, and it's not insane. But I think the most important thing where I have a unique advantage is sentiment. And I've been doing this, like I said, for almost 8 years. And while all 3 of those things have lined up spectacularly, sentiment hasn't caught up. And while there's, I get it. People have been burned in this space, but the objective things that I look at say that people aren't really beginning to show up yet.
So,
wait,
Alan,
I want to do one thing, Alan. Just GWS in the chat. Just caution you that Moses did not get into the promised land.
So. I know I don't get to go in the promised land. I don't buy cannabis stocks, and I was going to buy an ETF even, and I decided it just was not consistent with my mission of trying to be as objective as I can.
Hey, I actually want to ask you: was it MSOS?
It was.
Okay, let's go there. You noted last week that the assets under management in this thing have just exploded. This ETF opened in September at 2 million, with 2 million in assets. It's at like 120 right now. What do you think is behind that growth?
So look, I have no commercial relationship with these guys. So this is a free pump. I don't own it. And by the way, I would not advise investing in it. I would advise subscribing to my service and beating it like I'm doing. But with that said, one of the big problems facing U.S. cannabis companies is that they're relegated to the CSE and the OTC. You can't be on a major exchange. And if you want to know what being on a major exchange looks like, look at the Canadian LPs and the trading volumes they get. Look at GrowGen. Look at IIPR. That's what glory looks like. And then you look at these better companies than the Canadian LPs, at least from a fundamental perspective, and they don't get the liquidity. A lot of people can't invest in them. Well, the smart institutions, I say that, but some of the smart institutions like Putnam and Wasatch are figuring out how to get in. And there was a very large transaction reported, I believe in November, it might've been actually it was in October, where an unnamed fund put about 80 million US into GTI by taking out some early investors, so an off-market transaction. So we're starting to see the funds get in. But for most investors who want to, let's say, trade on Robinhood or anywhere, on Robinhood, you can't buy American cannabis companies. MSOS is on Robinhood. Most
Why is that? Why is that?
Why is what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, why can't you buy them on Robinhood?
Because they're on the OTC and the CSC, and Robinhood doesn't allow that.
I didn't know
And
that.
on top of that, even if it were allowed, like you can trade this stuff. Like I get subscribers that complain, depending on their broker, they have to pay additional fees or phone in orders. It is not easy to trade these companies on in your brokerage account. If you're a US citizen and if you don't want to invest and trade on the CSE and you want to do an OTC trade. So I think the universe of investors in the United States is so much bigger than what's there now. And so long story short, MSOS is a way to allow people who can't navigate the current system to get in.
And again, it's multi-state operators in the U.S.
Yeah. So look, I want to say a big caveat. So they don't actually invest in these companies. They invest in derivatives. Now, I always tell my subscribers, this is right now not an issue, but if we were to get into a financial crisis, it might be an issue. We don't even know who the counterparties are. So, but I don't think that's a high risk, but these guys figured out a way around. And one of my criticisms of all the ETFs to date has been they're almost fraudulent. I mean, they're not committing fraud legally, but MJ, everybody talks about it. Briefing.com always is pointing to it. Like when there's good news for the United States, it's so bogus. There's not a one company in there that benefits from good news in the United States. It's crazy, but and their assets are under $1 billion now, but it's close to $1 billion. And the reality is MSOS is, they have another one, Advisor Shares, called, I don't know, the symbol's YOLO.
There's POTX. There's a few.
No, none of these other ones are any good. So the reality is they don't have liquidity. They don't have the pure exposure. There may be some, but they don't have the assets yet. And I think these are the only guys that are in the MSOs. Maybe I'm wrong on some of these smaller ETFs, but I've been paying attention to this from day one when HMMJ launched. And I've always noted the challenges of these MSOs. So look, MSOS hasn't really reached the true critical mass of, $1 billion or something like that, but it did cross that 100 million threshold. And from what I understand, a lot of the platforms out there, they won't even let their advisors on there.
I was going to add that too. The 100 million is often like the breaking point, the make or break.
Exactly. So I think this is the beginning of something there. And so kudos to Noah Hammond and the guys at Advisor Shares for kind of solving a big problem.
We're on the line with Alan Brochstein. He's the author of the 420 Investor Letter. Alan, the news, I think it was yesterday, the news about the United Nations, or maybe even the day before, declassifying it as Schedule 4, Schedule 5 drug. I just didn't think that was like such huge news, but the market seemed to think the opposite. Or is it just it's just the algos and people running with the news? It's
a bull market. I mean, I can say this with just a lot of confidence and pride. We are in a bull market, and in the past, we've always had these flash in the pans. The elections in 2016, spike, pullback. The California legalization, spike, pullback. So this time we're in a sustainable bull market. And so any kind of news gets convoluted and distorted, and it's always viewed positively. I agree 100% with you that this is totally meaningless in the short term. It actually reflects a broader positive in that the world is moving towards cannabis legalization. I don't think we're going to legalize in the United States for 5 years. It's too complicated. They'll work on it. They may make some improvements. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Honestly, the best thing for these companies is that it remains the way it is. Status quo has been beautiful for these leading companies. And, finally they have, and I pointed to the trading volumes being a lot lower, but they're high enough we saw several companies do capital raises, not your largest ones. Well, actually TrueLeaf did, but we saw Jushi, Planet 13, Forefront. These are 3 second tier companies do capital raises, and then their stocks traded up to new highs. So we're in a different environment, and we're seeing better liquidity. It's going to be a lot more fun when there's not the headwind of lack of capital.
We used to have you on a while ago. We always talked about GWPH, right?
I love GWPH.
Okay, and I'm looking at this thing now.
Reverse Head and Shoulders targets 212.
Okay,
212.
yeah.
I love that target.
Well,
Look at the deal.
You're gonna like my chart. Hold on, you're gonna like my bottom right chart if you're looking, because you had that all-time high 192, got down to 69.50. You're taking back the 50% retracement, bunch of highs here at 143, monthly highs that is. So man, this thing, you poised to rocket. So
everything you say is correct, and the best investors know how to integrate what you just said, the technical side, with the fundamental side. That's what's made me succeed at 420 Investor, and other places, which is to recognize a good chart, but also how do you get conviction in that? Is this some piece of paper, some crap company? No, this company is unparalleled. There's not a company on the planet that has done what they've done, which is to get a major drug through the FDA. There's been some generics, but a proprietary drug through the FDA like this that has $1 billion market opportunity, nobody. But that's only the beginning. And I think what investors don't appreciate, the risk of GW has been that it's a one-trick pony. That it's Epidiolex and that's it. But in fact, they have another drug that's approved on, I think, 22, 25 markets. It's not heavily marketed. It's over there, it's called Sativex. Over there is mainly Europe. And so they tried to get this in the United States a few years ago. And the European, or actually the European side of this new approach to the same drug that's already proven safe didn't meet statistical significance for advanced cancer pain. So now they're trying to get it on the market for exactly what it's approved for in Europe. This is a layup. This is as easy as it gets for a new drug. So they're calling it nabiximols here. And it's, I think, a 50-50 combo of CBD and THC. And the drug is for MS spasticity. And that's a big market. But then they have some other things that they'll be pursuing beyond that. So I think there's a lot of growth behind whoever was selling this down to 90 or wherever it bottomed.
Oh, it got down to 70.
Crazy. And what happened was the momentum guys got a little bit carried away and the stock got ahead of itself. And then they merely met the expectations 2 quarters ago. And I listened to the call and they did not sound very confident. And what's going on is the parents of children with epilepsy aren't anxious to go out during COVID-19 and take their kids to the doctor to explore new medicines. So a little bit of a slowdown in what they were seeing in patient growth. And then the other thing is for them to grow, they need to get more doctors prescribing it as well. So those visits have moved from physical to virtual. And so they were projecting maybe some challenges, didn't pan out that way. And they were able to show a really strong quarter. This is a company that's never provided any guidance. So you just kind of have to listen to them and kind of get a feel for what they're thinking and seeing. I tend to take a more long-term view. And I think this is a good value, great company with a lot of IP. And I will be shocked if they're a publicly traded company at the end of 2021.
Wow, you're saying someone's going to take them out?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That doesn't need to happen, by the way.
Right.
Sure.
Wait, Alan, last one for you. What do you think about beverages, whether it's sports beverages? I know Cannabis Growth has their thing, but is beverages a major driver here?
So beverages have really been a non-issue. There's a lot of reasons for that. When it comes to THC, the onset has been too slow and there's taste issues. So in any market, there's never really been a very big presence. And another thing is they're big. They take up a lot of shelf space. So In Canada, it's a real problem. You can't buy a 6-pack. You can only buy a 5-pack. It's crazy, but just the way it works. You can't get, they have a 50 milligram cap. So 10 milligrams per bottle, 5 bottles. That's all you can do. So here's the deal though. I don't want to be I've been negative on beverages and they're not a big deal yet, but the technology is getting a lot better. And you've got a lot of beverage companies really focused on this. And so I think over time, this will be a bigger category, but here's what's going to make it work. Why do beverages do so well? It's because they're enjoyed in a social setting. People drink coffee together. They drink beer together. They drink wine together. So all these products are getting better, but unfortunately, we're lagging on the ability to unless it's in our homes, to get together and enjoy these drinks together in social settings. So, as I look out over the next 2 to 5 years, we're already seeing, like in where you guys are in Michigan, I don't know if it's implemented yet, but they're headed there. In California, they're headed there. In Las Vegas, they'll get there. So as these markets allow social consumption, people think of that's just sitting around smoking. It's also the ability to have beverages. And so I think it's a promising, more longer term development. I wouldn't get too excited right now. One thing that I would make an exception on, we're starting to see the ability to take powders and pour them into whatever you're drinking. I think, that gets around that form factor, shipping costs, shelf space, all these other challenges. So I think I'm paying attention to that one.
All right. If this isn't enough cannabis for you, I want to mention that we have another show that is devoted specifically to cannabis. It's the Benzinga Cannabis Hour. It's every Thursday. Oh, wait, that's today. Every Thursday. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern time. It goes from 4 to 5. Alan's been on it. It's on Benzinga's YouTube channel. So if you're watching this right now, it's the same exact spot on our YouTube channel. It's on again at 4. So after Joel and I wrap at the close, it's on right there. And again, it's every Thursday. Alan's been on. It's an hour-long show every week devoted specifically to cannabis, the Benzinga Cannabis Hour. You can Google that, or just, again, it's on our YouTube channel every Thursday at 4 o'clock. Alan Brochstein is the author of 420 Investor. He's a founding partner of New Cannabis Ventures. You can find him on Twitter at 420invest. Alan, we always appreciate your insights. I love your candor. You call it like it is. We appreciate it, your knowledge. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Thanks, Alan. Talk to you soon.
All right. It is 8:58. There's a lot we didn't get to today.
We always keep Alan longer. He sounds great.
Alan, we keep Alan Brochstein, Mark Yusko. Who else do we give?
We went overtime for Mark Yusko. Jason Raznick always gets overtime.
Wow. Yeah.
So
partially because he pays for the show.
There are some other headlines
but
here.
He's awesome.
That we had a merger last night. We have XPO is spinning off their logistics business. So XPO Logistics is, I guess, going to be just XPO now. We had Costco had November sales out this morning. So a bunch of stuff we didn't get to.
There's a lot of news headlines.
Can we look at Boeing fast? Boeing is I want to say breaking out here.
Flyer.
You don't want to say it's breaking out? Is that fair?
It is. It is again. I mean, the reopening trade is on and fully on. If you don't have any reopening stocks, you got to be looking at pullbacks to get in the reopening stocks, because you got a little one yesterday. American Airlines was down, closed at the high of the day, continues to go higher. We've talked about the cruise lines. I own NCLH. I think the cruise lines are going higher. Had somebody reach out to me on Twitter, ask me about Hawaiian Holdings, which is Hawaiian Airlines. I think it's a good way to play
What's
it too.
What's that, HH?
Yeah, HA. Yeah. But you just think about what are people going to do? Me and Raz talked about this a week ago on the show. What are people going to do when they start to, all of a sudden get the vaccine starts coming out? People are going to want to do stuff again. They're going to want to go out. They're going to want to travel. I think the travel stocks have a really great second half of 2021. And if you think the market price is 6 months out, they're going to start pricing that in sooner than later. The only obviously risk here is that COVID starts to get worse or the vaccines start to not work. So if the vaccines work and we start to get out of this crisis, I think travel stocks are going to benefit tremendously from it. So I'm trying to get long some of these reopening plays. I'm trying to stay long. I've got a few of them on right now. NCLH is probably one of the pure plays, but I think there's opportunity here to be buying the pullbacks and the reopening plays. Boeing is one of them.
Yeah, someone was asking here about American Airlines. I mean, you are clearing the highs from the last two sessions, which, no big deal. Right at the just under 15. But I think if you really want to get excited about this, you want to take out that 1550 high. I believe it was 1556 on November 27th. That's the big level. That will be the next leg up. And also, if you're looking at this on the on the monthly chart down here, this thing, is a steal it. If you're looking for any kind of retracement here, right? I mean, was it $60? So
yeah, I know. Well, that's it. You look at what's down significantly. You got Disney making new all-time highs because they're viewing that either way. But I'm not going in Disney, and obviously maybe Disney's going to be $200 stock when it turns it around because the parks will open. They all get on board, so I don't want to be short that either. But you're right. American Airlines $60 stock was a few years ago, so it was really 30 when the crisis started.
Yep.
So it's still 50% down from where. So it's a pretty significant discount. But there's a lot of restaurants too. I mean, some of these restaurants have really come back though. Like you keep thinking, oh yeah, there's some deals there, but I mean, you look at DRI and it's hard to kiss new all-time highs. And Brinker International, Eat has look at Eat when we all were never going to go to a restaurant again. $41 got down to $7. It's $51. So if you're coming in these now, I mean, most of them easy money's been made. But I think there's a catch-up trade in some of the airlines, some of the cruise lines, and the market is saying Boeing is a catch-up trade here too. So I think on pullbacks, I don't like buying reps, but you get some dips and, you continue to get those opportunities. Yesterday morning was one of them again. I think you start putting reopening stocks in your portfolio.
I feel like every day Dennis just like tries to short. He's like, I can't do it. I
try not to short anything right now. This market, man.
I can't short this. I can't short that. I can't short that.
Yeah, and obviously I still stay hedged, but in my trading portfolio. But long term in a swing account, it's all longs right now. I'm so mad at myself on Spotify too, because I bought Spotify. And when I talked myself out of it was when I got nervous. It's the stocks that all run pretty far. And I know it was Jeremy Newsom on the show, and he was a little bit nervous, and he had me nervous too. And I sold my Spotify that day at like 270 and change. And here it is like 7 days later, and it's 320 with that huge move. I actually bought Spotify on the speculation that I was like, you know what? Howard still hasn't signed with Sirius. Imagine if Spotify imagine if Spotify got Howard. What's that worth? $50 overnight?
I don't know if they have enough bandwidth to handle Howard Stern and
he was talking with him at one time, and he still has not signed with Sirius. So, I mean, that's the wild card for Spotify.
Interesting thought. It's definitely...
That's what I was when it was 262. I bought it at 255 or 260, and then it went up like in 2 days, like in the 270s, and then I talked myself out of it and sold it. I should have held it, obviously, but that was my, I just like thinking, maybe there's a chance that they get Howard. I mean, if they don't get Howard, it's not going to get slammed, but if they do get Howard, that thing will be like $50. So because nobody, right now everybody's assuming he's going back to Sirius. But, that's why I would not want to be long Sirius until they get Howard Stern, because you think about what Joe Rogan was worth to Sirius, and maybe some people are saying, or to Spotify, some people are saying Joe Rogan's bigger than Howard now, which might be the case, but Howard's still got a big name. And if Spotify, if he ever, went somewhere else, Sirius would get smacked. And if he went to Spotify, I think it would rally significantly on Howard Stern. I mean, one of the Kardashians got, like 20 points, didn't they, on Spotify?
Everyone gets 10, 20 points.
Yeah, I know. What's Howard Stern worth if it happened? I'm not saying, I'm just saying it's possible.
I don't know.
Who found us on Spotify?
Long. I love Spotify.
I know Agnes and her son found us on Spotify. If you've listened to us or found us on Spotify, could you put Spot in the chat? I'm just curious. I know Agnes, who usually participates in the afternoon show, but we're on there. It's delayed though.
Yeah, it's the podcast version. So
unless someone starts putting it on during the pre-market show, then it's not delayed.
Yeah, it was one time. All right, everybody, that's it. It is 9:05. We're going to wrap here. We appreciate all your comments in the chat, all the super chats, all the likes. Hit that like button. Show us some love. That helps us out. We appreciate that. Thanks, of course, to our guest today, Alan Brochstein. You can catch a replay of the show. As we mentioned, we're on every major podcast platform. It includes Spotify. It includes SoundCloud. It includes iTunes, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn. I think I got them all. Yeah. And you can always email us, premarket@benzinga.com. Please remember that all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes only.
Who's our guest tomorrow?
Or not for investing or trading advice.
What do you got?
Good question. I actually have to go to the calendar because I don't remember. Oh, it's Friday. Jason Rasmussen.
Oh, right. Oh, I forgot.
Friday.
You forgot, Raz. Don't forget.
It's
Paul.
Thursday.
Hopefully
Hopefully
he
he's not
signed
listening.
off. Hopefully he signed off.
Everyone have a good
He's
rest.
not a guest. He's not a guest.
I mentioned Joel and I will be back at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, have a good rest of your day and good luck.